friends. So it's been a while since I've done a book library check-in, and that's because life has been lifing, and I feel like life has been lifing for like everybody, not just me. Everybody's going through it, it feels like. So if you're going through it, solidarity, hugs and kisses, and we're gonna get through this and it's gonna be fine. And like literally the only pages that I flipped through in the last, I think it's been like 3 weeks, it's been a really long time since I've talked to you about books. Like I flipped through a couple pages of The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I've read like a couple chapters of Harley Merlin and The Secret Coven. I'm the kind of reader, if you haven't noticed, who reads like 8 million books all at the same time. And I'm pretty sure that's like a neurodivergent trait, but that's just how I do things. I know other people don't do that, but that's just how I do it. So, and that's like literally the only like pages that I flipped. I've been really, really heavily dependent on audiobooks lately, and it took me probably 10 years to like trust audiobooks. I first tried audiobooks in college. I was an English major. History minor, but English major. And, well, I double majored for a while, but that's besides the point. But it'll be relevant later. So I was like, oh, great. You know, I'm doing all this driving between going to work, going to school, going home, and doing all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I'm an English major. I have all these books. Maybe I'll just do audiobooks on my drive. And I didn't find the right authors for the right books, or the books we were reading just weren't something that was going to jive with that. Like I just glazed out immediately and lost interest and like could not keep up with what was happening. Like I would have to constantly rewind, like what's happening, what are you talking about now, because I would like disassociate. And then, you know, 2 minutes later I'd be like, wait, what is he talking about? I missed it, sorry author, rewind. So it doesn't always work out, but what I have found in the last like 10 years or so is it really depends on the story, and it really depends on the author. So for me personally, if I have a story that's engaging, that's interesting, that kind of keeps going, or if it's like a historical like documentation basically, that works for me. So something that sounds like a list basically of facts, or something that's super engaging and makes me stay interested is kind of the stories that I can go with as far as audiobooks are concerned. When it comes to like self-help and that kind of thing, I tend to kind of daze out. I don't stay as present to like absorb as much when I'm doing audiobooks and like different genres like that. So I have kind of my favorite genres that I do for audiobooks, and then I kind of do everything else in paper. So my biggest genre that I do is biographies, like by far. I love a biography audiobook. It's probably my favorite kind of audiobook. And there's like 2 different kinds that I love. I love like a celebrity or pop culture moment kind of audiobook read by the author. I think that the whole read by the author thing really brings something else to the table. And I've read so many like different celebrity they read their autobiographies to me, and I very much enjoyed it. And it just brings out their personality, and it helps you understand a little bit more of the nuance and that kind of thing. And there are different books where I've done both. I've read the book and then I had them read it to me, or, you know, I had them read it to me and then I went and read the text version. And it really does make a difference, because like listening to their cadence, listening to their tone, listening to all of that nuance really helps the storytelling, and I really, really like it. The other kind of biography that I find myself gravitating towards is the historical biography, particularly people who are in power during times of flux or struggle. So I love a Renaissance monarch, any of Henry VIII's wives, Henry VIII, Mary, Queen of France, the Medicis. Big fan. Love all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really, really big fan of those. And as far as the speaking voice is concerned for those kinds of books, because they're obviously not read by the author, I really enjoy like a high level, like intellectual, classical voice, and I've clearly been educated and I am calmly talking you through these kinds of things and this is what's happening. And especially if I'm a little bit of an Anglophile, you'll find this as we talk more about books. So if there's a little bit of like a British swang in there, I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So I'm currently listening to The Life of Bertie, the King of England, and I previously finished The Medici Queen of France and also Marie Antoinette, and they were fabulous and I love it. So I love a biography, like tell me your story. I love that. It works really, really well in the audiobook format, I find. So if you struggle with audiobooks, maybe try a biography, maybe start with somebody who's telling you their own story, and maybe that will help engage you and keep you engaged a little bit more, because that really helped me a lot. Another one that I really like to do by audiobooks is mysteries, because again, it keeps you engaged, it keeps you interested, you want to know what's going to happen next, you want to listen to the little nuances of it. And especially like, I don't know what your commute is, but if you're driving 45 minutes to work and you're listening to an audiobook, it gets, you get a lot done and you hear a lot and it really helps the time go by and you don't mind so much sitting in traffic because you're like, oh yeah, she did find that gun, didn't she? Oh, that's fantastic. So mysteries are another good genre, I feel, that fit audiobooks really well. And again, being somebody who really, really enjoys history, I love a historical time period mystery. I love, again, I'm a little bit of an Anglophile, so I love a Regency, a Victorian or an Edwardian period mystery. I feel like those are always really fun because you get fun words and fun cultural differences along with the kind of mystery timeline as well, which is always really fun. The other kind of thing that I listen to on audiobooks the most are classic literature. Spoiler alert, I probably listen to Pride and Prejudice almost every night before I go to sleep. Like some people listen to like some kind of calm down whale sounds or whatever. I put on the chapter where Elizabeth goes to Pemberley. And that's what I listen to before I go to bed because it soothes me very, very much. So, all of the Jane Austens, especially the young adult classics, those are really fun. The Wizard of Oz's, all of that. And the fun thing about audiobooks is a lot of times they've engaged different celebrities to read these books. So, like I just found Anne Hathaway reading The Wizard of Oz, which is really fun. I'll probably always tell everybody that Andy Serkis did the audiobooks for The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and he does all of the voices. He does all of them. Listen to the 8 Million Hours because it's amazing. He does all the voices. It's so good. So I do listen to a lot of the like classic literature a lot because a lot of times they come with the Audible subscription. And other times, like, if they found a cool celebrity to read it to me, that's fun. That's different. So I love that. I love the classics. I do engage in some of the romance and some of the smut as far as audiobooks are concerned. Like, I found I can't listen to them in public places, like in grocery stores or at Target or at work, like in my headphones. Like, I can't listen to that kind of stuff when I'm going about my daily stuff like I can with some of the other audiobooks that I listen to. Like it's very much like, oh, I'm gardening and I'm listening to my smut, or I'm doing my dishes and I'm listening to my smut. And it just helps the time go by faster. So that's another fun category that I feel like works for that environment, but not every environment. So some people are a little looser, especially if they've got earbuds in or if they've got their headphones on. Nobody knows what you're listening to, so it doesn't really matter, but I love that. I'm a fan of fantasy just in general. So again, I mentioned Andy Serkis did the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, but I find fantasy stories engaging, and also the altruism that's usually an underlying target of fantasy fiction really gets me. So I do listen to a lot of fantasy in the audio world as well. One series that I love is the Green Rider series, and the audiobooks on those are really, really good, and I'm working my way through that series. So if anybody is looking for a fun fantasy series, the Green Rider series is a fun one that's on audiobook. I know we don't like J.K. Rowling, but we do like the Harry Potter stories, and it's hard to give J.K. Rowling our money. But the audio versions of Harry Potter are fantastic. Whoever does it in America is really, really good. And the Stephen Fry versions are obviously fantastic, and they're fantastic. So all of those are great. And then the fun pop books, which are just fun and up and going around, that's always fun to listen to, just as you're kind of working. But as long as you get like an engaging story with a voice that you want to listen to, I find that that works best for audiobooks. Like the first kinds that I tried were slower stories with not a great voice to listen to, and I know that in recent years they've gotten a lot more voice actors and the production value has really gone up, and again, they've paid, celebrities and a lot of really cool, important people to do a lot of really fun audio readings and audio works. And so a lot more is available now than was 10 years ago when I first started investigating the audiobooks world. So I do think that audiobooks have come a really, really long way. But I also feel like you have to find what works for you, and not every genre is going to lend itself to an audiobook, and not every single book is going to lend itself to an audiobook, and not every book is going to have that. Like sometimes you want to see how things are spelled, sometimes you want to see the pictures that they add, or just the different nuances of the text, or sometimes they do, and this is italicized and this isn't, or things like that. So there's different things that you pick up with a textbook versus with an audiobook. So I think you just have to find one that works for you, but there's no reason why you can't enjoy both an audiobook and a paper book. So while things have been crazy, I've just been listening to books rather than reading them. I just sit back and have them read to me, and it's fabulous. So don't forget that that's always an option for your life, and it's still reading. So read on, friends. Love you, bye.